Right now we're just going to go right into the presentation. We're going to start off with the products. The first of the many products we'll be starting with and going over today is loan modification, short sale, credit restoration, debt settlement, and asset protection. The one we're probably going to be focusing mostly on today is loan modification, because this is where it's widely needed across the country. And to give you an example of this, there are now 3.5 million mortgages at least 90 days delinquent or past due. In addition, 2 million mortgages are at least 180 days delinquent or past due. Another example, top 5 most troubled real estate markets. If you notice, number 1 down here in our area is Miami, Florida. The delinquency rate is 28.8%. That means almost 1 out of every 3 homes need help, whether it be short sale, foreclosure defense, loan modification. In Greater Miami, including Fort Lauderdale and West Palm Beach, 1/4 of all mortgages are 90 days past due or worse. There are now 6 million more people facing foreclosure alone, more than what we have already. And if you look at number 2, who's number 2 of the most troubled real estate markets? The rest of Florida. And then following Las Vegas, California, and the rest of the company. So obviously there's a huge demand and need for the products that we're going to be going over shortly. We're going to go over 2 types of loan modifications. The HAMP, or Home Affordable Modification Program, and that's the first one we're going to discuss today. That was created by President Obama. The HAMP allows banks to lower your mortgage rate as low as 2% for 5 years, potentially reducing your payments and ultimately going into a fixed mortgage. Most banks, if they're approved with the HAMP program, will try to get you approved with this first because of the incentives. If not, then they default to the in-house or manual loan modification program. This basically is just banks that bring it internally, and they have their own in-house guidelines and rates, and they could be different, completely different from every other bank, and they might have many different programs. This is completely separate from the HAMP and any other government program, and they do not conform to any federal standards and only answer to themselves or their investors. I'm going to give you a manual loan modification example. This is where if you could not get a HAMP approval, and the banks have to bring it in internally, because I want you to understand the many guidelines and how crucial it is to understanding this business in order to get your loan modified. Let's take Bank A has a base rate of 4%. This just simply means that that's the lowest rate that bank will give you on a manual loan modification. And then they're going to take total unpaid balance of your mortgage. In this case, we'll say $300,000 is the current loan amount. Well, this isn't necessarily the total unpaid balance, because if you're at 10 months past due at $2,000, they're going to add on another $20,000 to that unpaid balance. And if you're in foreclosures, another couple of thousand, in this case $2,500 in foreclosure and legal fees. So the true total unpaid balance in this case is $322,500. That's a huge difference. The importance of this is if you're off by $50 in many of the calculations when you're trying to do a loan modification, that can make or break a loan modification or drastically change the outcome. So you want to be as accurate as possible. They're going to take that $322,500 and put it against a base rate at 4% for 30 years. This is just one example of one way they might try to get you an approval on a manual loan modification. Let's just say they come up with the lowest acceptable payment of $2,000, principal, interest, taxes, insurance. That's the total payment, including your tax and insurance. That's the lowest payment they're going to accept on this example. Now I'm going to take that. Now that we have a lowest acceptable payment, we're going to put it in example format. Example 1, say you have a net income of $3,000 after taxes. Okay? And let's say you have $1,000 expenses, including your electric, your water, your credit cards, your total monthly expenses. That will leave you $2,000 available every month to put towards your mortgage payment. Well, if that was the case, would you get approved on that manual loan modification at that 4%? Can you afford the mortgage? Yes, so you'll probably get approved and get the 4%. Example 2. Net income $3,000. Say your expenses is $1,500, leaving you $1,500 available. Well, can you afford that $2,000 payment? No. So will you get approved? Probably not. But if you knew that this is a Freddie Mac loan and you knew that recently Freddie Mac guidelines have changed and stated that someone in the household can contribute up to $500 towards your income without even having to prove it, would you now get approved? Yes, because $500 plus the $1,500 will give you $2,000. You'll be able to afford that modification. But if you do not know this, most people will think they're denied and maybe go to short sale or let it go into foreclosure. That's why it's very important to know in these guidelines. Give you a third example. Net income, $3,000. Say you have $500 in expenses, leaving you $2,500 available. Well, can you afford $2,000 lowest payment? Absolutely. Will you get the modification? Yes. But will you get the 4%? Probably not. Why? Because you have an extra $500 left, and the bank might take that $500 and use it and keep raising that 4% until the $500 is utilized, down to 0. So instead of getting 4%, you might get 4.25, 4.5, 5. Example 4. same net income of $3,000. Let's just say you knew this and you said you had $1,000 in expenses, including credit cards, electric, etc., leaving you $2,000 available, so it's a perfect wash. You have zero left over after the new payment. Will you get that 4% in this case? No, you will not, because what you didn't know is the $500 you put into the expenses was in credit cards, and the bank does not allow credit cards in that debt. So they're going to back out that $500 out of that $1,000, leaving the expenses of $500, giving you available $2,500 left. After you subtract that $2,000, you have $500 left again, and they're going to utilize that $500 and raise your rate until they do so. So again, you're not going to get the 4%. You'll probably get 4.5%, 5%, what have you. So this is the whole point of this software and the tools that we have, is you really need to know the guidelines to get the best possible outcome. Well, we have provided something for our customers and members to take care of that for you.